Okay, we're live.
Great. I don't see the live starting on YouTube, but I will.
Yeah, probably just a small delay.
Yeah. Great. Hi, everyone. Hello, Rogzy.
Hey, Fanis. Hello, everyone.
So let me just quickly.
Welcome to a new entonnoir.
Yes, welcome to. I, I don't know what the English word is.
I don't even know.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
he wanted to make a new one for Arc. So
Ah, yeah? Okay, good.
maybe it's the return of the space cake.
We could do that next Sunday. Also, maybe we can present at some point during this episode the new page on the website
Yeah.
for people to know that that's where the previous
Very good idea.
recordings are, the information are. And the more we will go to exercise, the more it's where they will find all the instruction and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Great idea. All right. So I see we have. Maybe I should refresh my YouTube page. Yeah, I see one viewer on YouTube.
Which is Bam. Hey, Bam.
Yeah, hello, Bam. Welcome. All right. Do you have access to Rumble? Because it's geo-blocked for me, but
Yeah, I will need to get on my VPN.
yeah,
Disabled it for the call. So,
yeah, likewise.
but I think we're good. We can just get started. Let's record it anyway. So.
Yeah. Sure. Okay, so welcome everyone for this fourth session. So it's actually the fifth, but it's number 4 because we are developers, so we count starting from 0. So welcome to the 5th session of Plan Labs, which is number 4. And so today we'll be covering some recent news as we usually do, and we'll also start giving some tools and details about things that we would like students to start playing with, like little exercises between sessions. And so we'll cover it in the second part of the session. Today I have Rogzy with me. So yeah, great to have you. And so yeah, I think we'll start because as you said, it's recorded. So I think I'll go just very quickly over this. Just basically, it's the goal and who I am, and etc. etc. But basically, we repeat it every time, so maybe it's not really necessary anymore. You can just go over some of the earlier episodes if you really want to know what is in the slides. One thing that is quite important still is our Telegram group, because it's where we just coordinate everything, and it will be especially important for now that we are going to start having exercises between sessions and stuff like that. It's really the place where you can ask questions, when you can share links, resources, etc., etc., and coordinate on these fun exercises that we're going to do. And so, yeah, join the Telegram group if you haven't yet. And yeah, that's it. So I just will have the QR code, and I'll show it again later. But you can also find the QR code not the QR code, but a link to our Telegram in this page. So let me just quickly share my browser. Show this window. Here you go. So here we are on Plumbee Network website, and we have something new to show you because the devs have been working.
This is about.
Sorry?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I was saying it's about.
Yeah. And so it's in the, we have a Plumbee Labs page on Plumbee Network website. So it's plumbee.network, and it's under the About drawer. And you have here Plumbee Labs. And so right now there is only one lab, but you can see that we're envisioning 2 other labs, mining and privacy. And so in the labs called Lightning, you can see the next session, which is now. It is the one we are viewing right now, so it's a bit of an inception. And you can also view previous sessions. And that's where we'll post also the resources from each session. So for example, maybe the slides, if there is some document, we can post it there as well. And so it's plumby.network/en/plan/lab/lightning. So, but you can find it under the About section. And you have the Telegram group here. So if you click, it's an invite link to our Telegram group. And this way you can easily join us on Telegram. Do you have anything to add about this section?
No. So, like, as you know, the labs is a kind of work in progress. We're trying to figure out how we want to do it, to make it interactive with the students, give the best students some more tasks to maintain Lightning infrastructure, to do report, to do stuff like that. And so the pages and the website is really going to be used to keep track of the previous lesson in a clean way, get new people coming. Yes or no, at the end of every Lightning class, there is a link that sends to that page. So the students that are joining through all the various courses get here to watch the replays and join the group as it goes.
Okay, great.
So yeah, introduction to Lightning. At the end, in the conclusion page, you will have like basically the information to join the labs. If you scroll, I think. Maybe,
awesome.
Maybe not.
Yeah, here.
Yeah, join the labs. So obviously we're still work in progress to make it nicer and more obvious and design-wise, but at least the feature is here. So yeah.
Great. Cool. Yeah, it's great. So thank you. Going to share back. Great. And so now maybe we can, do you have anything to add about the organization, or do we start?
No, we can go.
Great. And so as I said, today we'll get some news from the last 2 weeks, as usual, and we'll also start discussing some ways that students like you watching can participate and can contribute to. It's a bit like exercises, or there are different ways to see it, but the idea is to get some more hands-on experiments and stuff like that. So what's on the news from last week? So there was an interesting article about LND's sweeper. So we'll see what a sweeper is in a moment, but I found it quite interesting. There is also big news about ARC. So maybe for those who don't know what ARC is, because it made the news, but it was like 1-2 years ago when it really was a really big talking point. And then it was a bit more stealthy, but now it's doing a comeback. And there is a version of ARC that is available on Signet. So it changed a bit from what it was 2 years ago, but it's really, I tried it and I found it quite interesting and fun to use. And then there is some small discussion about storage, which we'll cover as well. And then we'll get into so what I call projects here, but basically the idea is to have some practical discussions, some practical experiences around Lightning, and we'll introduce two of the tools that we'd like to propose to the students to use, so to propose to you, in order to get your hands into Lightning a little bit more. So yeah, let's dive into it. So we'll start with LND Sweeper. So it's based upon an article by Matt Morehouse, which you can find if you follow the QR code here. And so what is a sweeper? So in Lightning, a sweeper is a part of the software of your Lightning node. So whether you are using LND, Core Lightning, Eclair, whatever. So it's a part of the software that is responsible for collecting outputs of a channel force close. So you have a Lightning channel, and when it force closes, it creates some outputs on chain that you need to claim in order to get the funds of these outputs. And there are different outputs that need to be swept back into the main wallet. And those are, so the local balance when your node is publishing a forced close. It can also be the remote balance when the remote peer tries to cheat. So it publishes a state, but of a revoked state. And it can be HTLCs, so either incoming HTLCs, so an HTLC that you should receive and use a pre-image. So if this HTLC is published on chain, then you must claim it using the pre-image. And it can also be an outgoing HTLC once the time lock is expired. So you are sending an HTLC on the channel is closed, and so you need, if the other party doesn't claim this HTLC on chain, then you need to do it before the time lock of the previous HTLC expires. And some of these sweeps are time sensitive, which means that so in order to sweep, so to claim these funds, you need to make an on-chain transaction, and you need to have this on-chain transaction confirmed before a given deadline, which is usually the expiration of a time lock. And so this is what I mean by time sensitive. And so so sometimes your wallet will need to bump the fees of this sweeping transaction in order to ensure that you can claim the funds before the deadline expires. But knowing how to do this fee bumping, knowing how much fees to add into when you're using RBF is not really trivial, and they are so traditionally Lightning implementations do it a certain way, and LND do it differently since version 0.18, which was released, I think, in the summer of 2024. And so here we just quickly cover in more depth the 4 different cases because I didn't really give much details. So this case is when you publish, so you decide to force close the channel and you publish your latest commitment transaction in which, so we are always seeing things from the point of view of Alice. So we are seeing things as if we were Alice. And in order to claim the funds, so the funds of our output are blocked by a time lock. So we need to wait for the time lock to expire before being able to claim the funds. This is in order to give Bob enough time to claim the funds with the revocation key if we were cheating. But in this case, we are not cheating. And so there is no time sensitivity here as long as we don't cheat. And so we can just wait for the time lock to expire. And once the time lock expired, we can just sweep the funds in order to get them back to the main wallet of our Lightning node. And so this is what we see here. Once the time lock expires, we just do another transaction in order to claim this output. The second case is when the remote peer, so in our example, Bob, publishes a commitment transaction, but he is cheating. And so we need to use the revocation key in order to punish Bob and in order to claim the whole funds of the channel. So both our output and Bob's output, because he cheated. And this time it's time sensitive because it's asymmetrical from the previous case. This time it's Bob that needs to wait for the expiration of the time lock. But once the time lock expires, Bob can claim the funds. And so we need to sweep this output with our output before Bob's time lock expires. And so this time it's time sensitive. And once again, we just sweep both outputs into our main wallet. The third case is when we need to claim an incoming HTLC. So in this situation, once again, we are Alice, and we receive an HTLC from Zoe. And so for whatever reason, the channel is closed, so we close the channel. And because there was an in-flight HTLC, there is an additional HTLC output in the commitment transaction that is published. And since we if we know the pre-image, it means that we already sent an downstream. So to Bob, for example, if the next node is Bob. And so if in order to not lose funds, we need to claim this HTLC on-chain. So we need to sweep this output, and we need to do so before the time lock here expires, because else Zoe would be able to be refunded for the HTLC and to claim the HTLC for herself. So this time it's also time sensitive, and we must claim the HTLC using the pre-image before. So it's not the it's a revocation before Zoe is able to to claim back the HTLC once it expires. So hopefully we're able to do so, and we can claim both the HTLC and our output back to our main wallet. And the fourth case is when we are sending an outgoing HTLC and the channel closes. So for example, we are part of routing a payment. So we receive an HTLC from Zoe and we extend it further to Bob. And this time, for this outgoing HTLC, Bob can either have or not have the pre-image, we don't know. But what we know is that if Bob doesn't claim the HTLC with the pre-image and then the time lock expires, we must claim this HTLC, the one that is between us and Bob, before the HTLC between Zoe and us expires, because else we could find ourselves in a situation where the HTLC between Zoe and us expires as well. And so Zoe claims back the funds of this HTLC, and so it's refunded. And then, out of a sudden, Bob comes back online and uses a pre-image to claim the HTLC on chain, and then we are left with nothing. So that's why if Bob doesn't claim the HTLC with the pre-image in time, we must quite quickly sweep the HTLC once the time lock is expired, before the time lock for the HTLC that is upstream expires as well. And so this one also is time sensitive. And so hopefully we are able to do it in time and to get the funds back to our main wallet. But so if we recap, out of the 4 cases where we might need to sweep an output after a channel is forced close, 3 of them are time sensitive. And so it's quite important to be able to adjust the fees in real time and in a sensible way, in order to have the output confirmed on time. But so now it bears the question, what fees should we use? Because it's not really, we could pay a lot, or we could just play it cheap and hope that it confirms in time. We don't want to have fees too small, because we need the transaction to confirm on time, or else we could lose the value of the HTLC. And we don't want it to be too big, the fees, because we know that Bitcoiners to overpay fees. If they can pay 1 cent per VByte, they will. And what all implementations do is start with a relatively low fee. So typically a fee given by the Bitcoin Core estimator, or the fee from pool.space, for example, and then replace by fee the transaction as the lines get closer. So basically replace the transaction with a similar transaction, but that pays more fees, and do it over and over and over, and maybe more aggressively as the deadline comes. But now the question is, how do we pick the fees to RBF with? So how do we pick the new fees each time for the transaction? And the standard approach is to use fees from an estimator, as I said, Bitcoin Core, mempool.space, etc. And so we query the estimator with the deadline as the block target. So for example, if we know that we need to claim, let's take this example, for example, we know that the previous HTLC will expire in 40 blocks. So we know that our deadline is 40 blocks. And so we can query the estimator, saying that we want to know what the fees are in order to be published in 39 blocks at most. And then we can query this estimator again on every new block And if we find that the new estimation gives a higher fee than the latest fee we use, then we can use RBF again, bump the fees again. And another approach, which is often combined, at least it's used by Eclair and LTK, is to use exponential fee bumping when the deadline approaches. So we start from the estimator's fee as above, but when we see that the deadline is very close, like in 6 blocks, we start doing exponential fee bumping. For basically, we take the fees that we used in the last block and we increase it by 20%. And on the next block, we increase the last fee by 20%, and so on until we've devoted the whole HTLC to and so that's basically the idea, is that we try to have a small fee in the beginning, but if we get very close to the deadline, then we really increase it very strongly in order to ensure that the transaction confirms. But there are a few problems with this kind of approach. One of them is that estimators can be wrong, and because it led to some false clauses, for example. They are not necessarily built with Lightning in mind. So basically, maybe that when you ask Bitcoin Core's estimator for a target in 10 blocks, maybe it wasn't built with the assumption that you really need to hit this target. So maybe you need to tweak it a little bit in order to fit your usage. And even when using exponential fee bumping, this exponential fee bumping builds on the initial fees that was returned by the estimator. And so if these initial fees were very low because the estimator was very wrong, then even increasing it exponentially will not really help. And so that's why LND proposed a new approach, which is live again since 0.18. And basically, in this sweeper, there are 2 parameters. One of them is the deadline, which is, as we saw previously, it's a block height by which we need the transaction to be confirmed. And another one is a budget, which is a proportion of the HTLC's amount. So that's the first time in our whole discussion that we are introducing the idea that we can define the fee budget for RBF based on the amount of the HTLC, which actually makes sense because, for example, if we have 1 million sats HTLC, maybe we are okay for paying more fees for this HTLC than for one. And so by default, the budget of this sweeper is defined to 50% of the amount, but it can be adjusted by the user. And what the sweeper does, it tries to batch inputs together. So it tries to spend together inputs with the in the same sweeping transaction, and the fee budget of the total sweeping transaction is just the sum of all individual fee budgets. And we start low, as we did earlier with this, the classical standard approach. We start with the base fee returned by an estimator, and then we increase linearly every block this fee. So we RBF every block. And so the fee function is built so that at the end of the deadline, the whole fee budget would be used. And so we just increase the fee linearly so that if we were to reach the deadline, then at this block, we would RBF with the whole budget being used for the fees. And so, yes, a little comparison. Both approaches start with the fees from when using estimator and exponential fee bumping, at the end, you use the whole HTLC amount, for example, if you follow Eclair's approach. Whereas on LND, you only take up what the user defined as the fee budget. The LND sweeper is also better because it prioritizes higher amount HTLC. So, for example, if you have 1 million sats HTLC, you give it more fees than 1,000 sats HTLC, whereas the classical approach gives all HTLCs the same. And the LND sweeper increases fees more gradually. So every block, we linearly increase the fees, whereas the classical one will only increase them at the end, a bit under the urgency, only when the deadline. So I'd say that probably that LND's sweeper will, on average, pay a little more fees than the classical approach, but it's more robust. You have more certainty that it will be able to claim the funds on time, and it avoids paying a very large amount of fees if the fees are too much. And another great thing is that it helps mitigate some attack vectors, for example, pinning attacks or pinning attacks. It helps make them clear for the attacker, and even to the point that it can make replacement cycling attacks uneconomical. So, for example, the attacker would have spent several times the amount of the HTLC in fees in order to be able to attack you replacement cycling attacks. So that's another nice side effect of this sweeper. So yeah, that's it for this first part. So it's not really, I decided to include it because I thought that a Matt article was quite well written. And so it was something that I didn't know, I found it interesting. Feel free to scan the QR if you want to read the full article. It's quite interesting. I left a few things out. Do you have any question, Rogzy? Or
No, I didn't know about it. Quite interesting indeed.
Yeah.
And how, like, my question would be basically like, out of the two approaches, so linear or exponential, what do you do? For example, you at LN Markets, or like if it's LND, what about Eclair and the others? So basically, how would you decide which one you take as Lightning maintainers and developers yourself?
Yeah. So at LN Markets, for example, we are using LND. So we are automatically using LND sweeper, which I think is makes the most sense actually. And there was some discussion. So for example, to answer your question, let me just share my brother. So this is Matt's article, and his conclusion is basically that it's more secure. So LND's deadline-aware budget sweeper is more secure in adversarial situations and more consistent when mempools are rapidly changing. And he advises other implementations to incorporate budget into their fee bumping strategy. Because, yeah, what is really striking, I think, is the fact that that previously you didn't take into account the value of the HTLC at all in order to decide on the fees that you wanted to put. Because, yeah, it actually makes really more sense to take the amount into account, because you don't want to put the same fees on a very small HTLC and on the big one. You want to really prioritize the big one, and it's not so bad if you miss a smaller one. So that's where I think really the LND's new sweeper makes a lot of sense. And there was some discussion on Delving Bitcoin. So for those who don't know, Delving Bitcoin is basically a forum where a lot of Bitcoin and Lightning developers gather and discuss this kind of topics. And so Matt published his article here as well. And there was some interesting discussions under the article with some recommendations. And I think there is Bastien, from A5, reacting to it, explaining that they will update Eclair. So reacting to someone else's suggestion as well. So yeah.
So it's good. Again, Matt is really doing a proper job here. Like, I feel like he's He's Lightning MVP those couple of months.
Exactly. Yeah, and I was actually surprised that because I didn't previously I hadn't really checked into the details of how it worked, and I was actually a bit surprised that none of them was really budgeted for that. But in retrospect, at least it seems like a reasonable choice. Yeah.
All right.
So feel free to ask questions in the chat as well. I see that we are 6 people in the. Maybe I will try to share my whole screen. Can I do that? Yes. Awesome. Because now we are going to talk about Arc. And we are going to do some little demo for Arc. And so quickly, what is Arc? So Arc is a novel layer 2 solution for Bitcoin that supports unilateral exit like Lightning. So basically, you are, as a user, you are in full control of your funds and you can leave the layer 2 without having to ask for permission, which is to me the real definition of a layer 2. But it's different from Lightning. It makes a different set of trade-offs. And one of the goals of Arc is to improve the onboarding process because it can be a bit difficult to onboard Lightning. And that's why I think we see a lot of users using custodial solutions. And one of the big problems, for example, is that in order to receive funds on Lightning, you need to have inbound liquidity. So you need someone to open a channel to you, or you need to open a channel and first send funds, and then you'll be able to receive them. It's not easy to explain to users. I think we are getting better and better user experience with wallets like Fanis, but still it's a bit, you have to explain to users that they will pay higher fee first because they need to open a channel, but that this won't repeat every time that they receive a payment. And so that's a lot of explaining to do. And Arc, as I said, makes a different set of trade-offs. And one of the advantages is that you don't have this inbound liquidity problem and the onboarding process that comes with it. Yeah, and so yeah, maybe we can start with the demo. Because the Arc team, so I would share what is on the QR code. The Arc team published this little documentation. So they published basically a working Arc wallet client for using Arc. So it's of course it's a version of Arc that works today on Bitcoin, because if you follow the bit around how Arc works. The initial version of Arc was to work with covenants, for example OPCTV, but we don't have covenants on Bitcoin yet, and so a group, some developers decided to create a covenantless version of Arc that is based on multi-signatures. So we can do Arc now with multi-signatures. It would be better with covenants, a bit like Lightning would work even better with covenants. And so it's really cool that we have that. So here you have the install instructions if you want to install it in order to play with it as well. You have instructions for basically every operating system. If you can just quickly download the binary and have fun with it, or you can compile from source if you're into. And then you can, so I already did all that, but you can create a new one on Arc. So you just have to indicate what your ASP will be. So basically in Arc, you have a central server, which doesn't control the funds, but which acts as a coordinator. And you just need to when you create your new wallet to set which ARC, which ASP you use, you have to precise as well which block explorer you want to use. But then you can check your balance. And so if I just do that, so I will not have 0 because I already have some funds, but you can see that I have 570 off-chain sats on my balance in ARC. And you can list what they call, you can see your pub key. You can list your VTXO because in Bitcoin we have UTXOs, and in ARC you have virtual UTXOs, so VTXOs. And if you look at it, you can see that I have only one VTXO. So it's basically it's an off-chain UTXO. And this one is of type Bolt 11 change because it's a VTXO I got when doing a previous payment. And you can see that it expires at 8/241 and 50. And so if I just quickly check the Signet mempool space, we are currently at block 240,951. So my VTXO in around 1. So I will probably need to refresh it, and so we'll see that in a moment. But they also give you a faucet where you can quickly grab some funds. So you need to log in with GitHub. So I'm logged in, so it's okay for me. And so, for example, I will ask the wallet to give me my VTXO pub key so that I can receive funds. So it's just this command, bark VTXO pub key. So it gives me my pub key, my wallet pub key, and I can then just paste it here and ask for 10,000 sats, for example. And I click. Instantly, I receive the sats, and I didn't have to do any setup. I didn't have to, and it's not just because I've used the tool before. It's the same if you use it for the first time, and you don't have to have inbound liquidity or anything like that. And so,
so just to understand correctly, we agree that the problem I had seen in the past with ARC is the liquidity that they need to put to block it and create. So when you say like on your side, you have no friction, but someone is taking those 10,000 sats and lock them and add an extra 10,000 sats to create them, right? Like on your side, there's nothing, but what is on their sides to send you those 10K that is locked or kind of blocked?
So,
You good?
Yeah, I don't hear you anymore.
It's because I finished.
I hear you now. Are you still here?
Yes, I'm here. I don't know if you have a lag or you don't hear me. Can you hear me? If I say
I hear you. No problem. Yes.
Okay, so my question was like, on your side, you have no friction receiving the 10K, but on their side, what do they need to lock in for you to receive those immediately? Because I assume it's like more than 10K that they need to block.
So basically here, the funds are already in the ARC. So in this server, in this ARC instance. And so it's they have them at hand already. And so they don't need to get them from somewhere else, but because they have put the funds before in the ARC. So for example, if you were to receive sats from Lightning and you wanted to receive them on your ARC wallet, then of course the funds would go through the ASP Lightning channels, and they would need to have the liquidity for that. But and basically the ARC service provider needs to handle the liquidity for all of the users, so they have higher liquidity requirements. But that's the whole idea of ARC is basically that for small users, they will not do the hassle of creating their own Lightning channels and so on. And so for them, it makes more sense to have an ASP deal with all that in exchange, for example, for a small fee. And this way they can use off-chain Bitcoin in a self-custodial manner, but without all the.
Okay.
But of course, yes, you have strong liquidity requirements for the ASP, but usually that's a professional entity. And so if we check now that I really received funds, I can run Bark VTXOs again to check what VTXOs I have, and I should have two now. Hopefully, yes, indeed I do. And so I still have my Bolt11 change VTXO, and now I have what they call Arcour VTXO, which is basically this type of VTXO means that it's the VTXO that was sent to me in an instant transaction. And we can see that this VTXO expires as well. And so I will need to refresh it as I want to be able to keep it, or else it wouldn't be mine anymore. And so this is in order to make sure that the ASP is able to recover funds of users that aren't there anymore, because it would make it costlier for everyone. And so we can just refresh our VTXOs with Bark refresh all. And basically what it does is it tells, oh yeah, I missed. It tells the ASP that it is ready for a refreshing round. And so in this version, there is a round every 15 minutes. And basically all the users that want to refresh will have their current VTXO swap for a new VTXO and so the expiry date will be set to, I don't remember the amount, but basically you get new ones that you will need to refresh, but later on. And so that in practice, you can have, I don't know, VTXOs that expire after a month, for example. And so you only need to connect to your wallet once a month in order to have the VTXO being refreshed, which is, yeah. So it's a bit like the same as logging into your bank account once a month to see how much funds you have. And so now it's waiting for the next round to start. So there is one round every 15 minutes on this current test server. So I don't know when it will happen. We will see. And so they also set up, and so what we'll see, once the round occurs, is that the VTXO types will be different. We will not have Arcour and Bolt11 change. We'll have two VTXO type around, because the new VTXOs that we will have come from a refreshing round and not from either change or direct transaction. And so there is a store where you can buy stuff using your Signet sats. So I don't know what happens if I just quit this. Yeah. Okay. And so I can click, for example, buy now with 1000 sats. And so one interesting thing is they give you a Lightning invoice. So we often say that Lightning invoices are not practical, but we use it everywhere. And it's actually quite clever to use a Lightning invoice, because this means that if the person that wants to pay is from a different ARC or is using Lightning, they can pay using, so for example, if they are in a different ARC server, the other ARC server will take their VTXOs on this server and use them to pay the Lightning invoice. A bit like when you're sending from one eCash mint to another. But if you're trying to pay a store that is on the same ARC server as you, then the ARC server will understand that it is the case because basically the invoice is to itself. It recognizes that it's paying to the same Arc server, and so it will use directly the VTXO. And so I can do bark send and then the invoice, and boom, payment sent. So of course it's quick. And if we check our VTXOs, we see that we only have one now, so it's used both our VTXOs, and we have one Bolt 11 change VTXO now, and it's refreshed to the new expiry date. Actually, it's not the same expiry date as before. Okay, and so we can try to refresh them again. It will happen during the live. So yeah, that's it for Arc. So I find it really really cool that they are releasing something for Signet that you can start to play with it. I found that the install instructions and that kind of stuff. Let me find them again. Yeah, it's here. The installing instructions and how to use it were really well made. They explain you can also try the unilateral exit to see how you can take your VTXOs and go back to on-chain, because that's the whole point of having a unilateral exit and self-custody, is to be able to get your funds back even if the Arc service provider disappears, for example. So yeah, that's and it's also I think it makes it helps making the case, for example, for covenants. So if people want covenants, now we have an example of something that we can build and make better with covenants. So it works right now with using multi-signatures, but I will show you quickly how it looks. Basically, you have to make a tree of transactions, and each time you have to do a multi-signature for each of these transactions. So it doesn't necessarily scale to dozens or hundreds of users in the same Arc. So it would be better with covenants. But it's really cool that they show that what you can do, and as you could see, the UX is quite good, I think. So if you want to try for yourself, I think it's fairly easy to do. So yeah.
But then my question would be like, now that they proved they can do it, well, we knew we could, but now that they build it without covenants and it works, is the added benefit of covenants so big that it implies like the fork and all the geopolitics of like trying to change Bitcoin? Well, literally it works without covenants. Like,
yeah, that's a good question. I don't know actually, but it feels like opponents to covenants will say that there is no real use case, and now I think what the second team made is demonstrate a use case, and yes, it works without covenants, but it would be better with them. So I think maybe in that regard, what could be done is show maybe the limitations of using multi-signature instead of covenants, and maybe show on another Signet where covenants are activated, so how it differs in terms of speed, in terms of scalability and stuff like that. Maybe it could be an interesting experiment, maybe even for the students, to try to showcase these kind of things and to grasp better what's the limit. But yeah.
okay.
So I don't know if you have any other questions or in the chat as well. Feel free to.
No, I think it's really cool. Like it's the first time we can actually at scale play with Arc, right? Because again, we've been talking about Arc for 2 or 3 years, I think, on the podcast in general. So
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, here they are giving some more details about how this new version of Arc works. So basically, I think it's quite interesting. And one of the things that are great is that they are very upfront about limitations. So, for example, here they clearly explain some of the trade-off. Oh, as you can see here, we have the refreshing round happened while we were talking, and so sorry, I got to decline the call. And so what happened is we said to the ASP that we had two VTXOs that we wanted to refresh, and so basically we exchanged signatures in order to make it happen. It is what we can see here happens is we swapped our VTXO for fresh ones in a way that is trustless. So basically, we are sure that when we give away the current VTXOs that we have, we receive the equivalent amount in new fresh VTXOs. And so the round finished quite quickly. And now, if I do Bark VTXOs, we should see that our VTXO has a new expiry date now, which is bigger than the one before, which is great. Yeah, so that's it. Great. Feel free to ask questions if you have any, and if not, we can. Yeah, I see it's okay. I see what time is it. Maybe we can the next topic. Yep. Great. So yeah, feel free to scan the QR code. I'll just leave a few seconds more if you want to try it yourself. So yeah, but it will be a quick topic. Another topic that I spotted last week was the question of how do you store stuff on Lightning, and by stuff I mean things that relate to your nodes state. So, for example, your channels and stuff like that, because that's one of the that's another one of the things that are sometimes hard to do with Lightning. And that's another of the things that Arc, for example, could maybe partially solve. Is that if you have a self-custodial Lightning wallet, for example, you have Phoenix on your phone and you lose the phone, hopefully you had your seed backed up, and so you can recover the funds on chain, but you cannot really recover the channels, for example. You have to have the channels force closed and get the funds back on chain. And so if we had a way to store some of this data away from the user's phone, for example, it would enable some use cases like recovery when the user loses their device, and multi-device support as well. So you could have the same Phoenix wallet between, I don't know, your phone and your tablet, for example, or between two phones. And so there are currently a few complementary approaches being implemented. So there are quite different approaches. One is Version Storage Service, VSS, by the LDK team. And another is peer storage. And so VSS is really meant to be used as a primary storage solution for your Lightning node. So basically, instead of your Lightning node saving your channel state and all that on your phone, for example, it will save it on a version storage service. So it can be in the cloud, for example. And it is the ultimate source of truth for your node. And so it needs to be always up to date, because you can't have two different states being valid at the same time, or else you could be in trouble and even lose some funds. And so the LDK team announced the VSS recently, so last week, I think. Yeah, here you go. So they go here in this blog post, they go into some details about what it is, two use cases I gave, recovery and multi-device multi-access, sorry. And so basically, anytime you do an action with your Lightning wallet, so either you send money or you receive money, you need to update the state of your channels or your channel if you want to have one. And so instead of happening directly on the device, this update would be performed and stored in the version storage service. And so it's already you can already integrate it into LTK. And so it enables users to basically recover their wallet without having to close their channel or even use the same wallet in multiple devices. Although note that the multi-device feature is not really there yet, as I explained here. Phase 1 was about really the recovery use case, and phase 2 will be for the multi use. And so phase 1 is ready to use. It's already in LDK node, which is a node implementation using the Lightning dev kit. And phase 2 will be basically developed later if there is enough demand for it. So that's for VSS. And for peer storage, it's quite a different idea, but basically the idea is that you can send small chunks of data to a peer, so for example your channel partner, with encrypted data. So you only have the key, but this key could be derived, for example, from your seed words. So it's enough to keep your seed words, and it could be used as a backup. So for example, one use case would be if you have a wallet where there is an LSP, so for example, Fanis with async, you could have the details of the channel be stored by the LSP, encrypted, and it would allow, for example, user to, if they lose their phone, they could reconnect with their seed words in a fresh install of Phoenix on a new phone and get their channels back without having to close them and reopen channels. And so it's already implemented in Core Lightning, and now, as of last week, it was implemented in Eclair as well, which makes a lot of sense, especially for Eclair, since they have the Phoenix wallet. And so in the release notes, they release quote this specific use case of having a backup, an encrypted backup of your channels that is stored by your LP. So it doesn't let you do a multi-device, for example, because you don't necessarily store every channel update because the size is quite constrained. But you can use it, for example, to just recover a channel. So it's a bit different from VSS, but it's still interesting for recovery, for example. It works really well for recovery, but not so well for multi-device. Yeah, so that's it for storage on Lightning. It was really a quick bit. Unless there are questions, we can move on to
No, no question from the viewer, still passive. We will force them at some point.
Yeah.
And on my side, no, it's important. I mean, it's a topic we're all waiting, especially multi-device connection. It's more than needed. So good that it's coming.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest, maybe even more than a recovery. But it's a bit of the same issue actually, but yeah, it's really it seems really
convenient
weird for people, yes, to just not being able to access the same funds from different, because that's what they're really used to when they use banking apps or fintechs or stuff like that. And if you have to explain to them that they can't because there is a channel state, you understand, and you can't really synchronize channel state between devices. Yes, you shouldn't have to explain this to them. It should work. So yeah, I think it's good to see that there is some development in that direction, and yeah, cool. So maybe what we can do is I give a quick intro of LNBits. And maybe do you want to explain then for the studio and all this stuff?
It freezes? Say again?
Yeah. You hear me? Good.
Okay, go.
Yes. So I said maybe I can give a quick intro to LNBits and what it is, and then maybe you can talk a little bit about what the studio already did.
Yeah.
It's an vision for the students of the lab. So yeah. So a lot of you might be already familiar with LNBits. So LNBits is an accounting system. So it's basically a software that you can install on top of your Lightning node, or even without Lightning node. And so you plug it into a source of funds. So the source of funds can be a Lightning node. It can be a wallet, for example, Albi, PhoenixD. It can be as well fake Bitcoin. So for testing purposes, you can create just a fake Bitcoin network and connect LNBits to it. And then once you have this source of funds, so for example, Lightning node, you can create accounts and the funds will be attributed to this account. But actually, from the Lightning point of view, the funds don't move. It's just an accounting abstraction, hence the name accounts, where you say that out of all these funds that are on the channel, this amount belongs to this user, this amount belongs to this user, etc., etc. It's a lot like a bank, which holds money in not really in vaults anymore, but in a vault, and on the accounting books of the bank, there is noted that this amount belongs to this client and this amount belongs to this other client. So basically, LNBits lets you run a bank, a community bank on top of your Lightning node. And so I think that IBEX, which was a payment processor, it still is actually, used LNBits at the start to power their solution. So yeah, it shows how powerful it can be. And another key element of LNBits is that one instance can run many extensions. So you have really a huge number of extensions. A lot of them were checked by the LNBits team and so are approved. But you can also plug any extension repository that you want. Maybe I can do a quick demo of that. Yeah, here you go. So if you go to v1.lnbits.com, you'll be able to create your own account on an instance that is maintained by the LNBits team. Be aware that it's a demo server, so it works with real sats. If you want to use it, you have to. So here's the 10,000 sats, for example. I deposited them on the instance. And so as it is a demo server, it is nuked monthly. It's what is written here on the top right. And so if you use it to try it out, don't keep funds there, please. I don't want to have this on my conscience. And so basically here I have one account. I can add many wallets. I can create as many wallets as I want. So I'm one user of this LNBit instance, and I can create as many wallets as I want. So this lets me segregate funds between use cases, for example. And so you have one instance that is connected to like a node, for example. And on this instance, you can have multiple accounts created by users. And each user can have many wallets. And then you can manage extensions. So you can have a lot of different extensions. You can have a point of sale. You can have bolt cards. So for example, it lets you write to a bolt card, so a little NFC card, in order to pay merchants without having to use your phone. So basically, you just have to write to the bolt card a link to your LNBits wallet, and it will, and the merchant's machine will read the card and claim the funds from your LNBits wallet automatically. You can have a lot of things. You can have paywalls. You can have an LN calendar. So basically, have people pay to book a slot on the calendar. Really a lot of things. So here, one of the few extensions, a little extension I picked was this coin flip extension. Yeah, where you can create a coin flip game. So let me try with, maybe I can put more than 2 players. Let's not ruin ourselves with oh yeah, test create coin flip. And so yeah, if we try it, I'm just going to paste the link on YouTube. I can just put my Lightning address. So for example, let's use my Stacker News Lightning address. I click join coin flip. So you can do that as well. Then I'll have to pay 100 sats invoice. And so what will happen is that the 100 sats will go into my account on the LNBits instance. So they are mine, but cryptographically speaking, so the Bitcoin actually go to a channel that is on whatever Lightning node LNBits are using. So work. Yeah. Are we waiting? We need to be 4 players. Okay. I thought it was at most 4. Maybe I should have used the 2 players for the test. Did you join as well, Rogzy?
I tried, but you were too fast.
What do you mean? To pay the invoice?
Yeah, to pay the invoice. Wait.
Oh, let me check. Can I do it again or not? Yeah. Yeah, we can just be
it's also not scanning. Yeah, I cannot scan it.
All right. No biggie.
But yeah, LNBits it's a really cool tool to test, to try to build small MVP. And when you refer to IBEX, today they are not using LNBits. We can probably say the cons of LNBits. It's the maintenance. Some people would say that the code will need to be like built from scratch to be more engineered and more robust. So it's really cool to build fun activities. We use it to a lot of degree. I can explain it later. But if you are really trying to build a solid, user-focused, long-term product, probably LNBits will be the MVP. And then you want to use the proper Lightning implementation to do it the hard way.
I think it's really great for prototyping, because it handles all the creating account part and stuff. But when your project mature and you verified, for example, that there is a market fit, that your ID works and stuff like that, then of course you can migrate from LNBits to more advanced solution. Let's say. I think that. So of course there was some issues in the past with some LNBits bug and stuff like that. So I think they are in the process of so we are in the
Yeah, they released V1
yeah.
a month ago or something like that.
So yeah, but it was so basically it's for testing purposes. So it's not V1 is still in beta, let's say, and I think they will announce V1 to the world as being ready in the coming days or weeks. And part of what they did in V1 was also rewrite a lot of the core elements of LNBits in order to make it more stable, more robust. So yeah, and if we just take a look at what happened in the wallet when we did the coin flip, so I basically paid the 4 invoices, so it was 4 times me, but just to give you an idea of what happens. Basically, we created a coin flip, and then 4 users deposited. The flip happened, and the user received for. And so basically, you have all this data on your wallet. You can see all this kind of stuff using the charts here. So yeah, I think it's a great tool for prototyping, for testing stuff. You can of course create your own extension on top of LNBits using LNBits API, which is I think the whole point of using LNBits. So yeah, maybe we can talk about what Plan B is doing with Studio.
Yeah. So yeah, sure. I can try to take over. Do you have some slides, or do you have like presentation or a graph or anything?
I have I extracted 2 images from
Okay.
document.
So yeah, you can keep this one, and then I will tell you.
Great.
So in a nutshell, basically, we try to, like, in general, even though it's hard, we try to make the education interactive, fun, and we try to onboard like the real life people. And so one of the project that was built internally as a side project and now is getting like a proper project is what we call Plan B Studio. And basically it's the idea to try to bring as much lightning in the real world. And we started with basically parties. So literally going out, drinking, dancing, and having like fun, interactive. And so we did it for basically adopting Bitcoin 2024, and we did the ending party of the conference. And the goal was really to have no fiat at all. And for that, we've created that parkour of onboarding that you see on the screen. And basically, it was a success. The party was really cool, but also there was literally no cash. And we onboarded more than, I think it was around 300 or 400 Salvadorian or person into Lightning in the span of one evening. So it was like the bigger increase in Lightning Wallet app download for the partners, which was basically Bitcoin Beach Wallet and others, because like we had that whole plan. And so if we go above simply like the party, why we wanted a lightning only party is because within the venue, we had a lot of lightning activities to be played with. So for example, scanning a QR code that will activate through an LNBits switch the smoke machine. Or another one would be like you scan the QR code, you write a prompt, and then AI will generate an image based on your prompt and show it on the screen. And so you pay the AI agent to do that through LNBits to be displayed, and etc. Or switching the music with the Lightning LNBits plugin of the jukebox, etc. So the idea is that with LNBits and with Lightning in general, we can have a lot of fun interaction that can be just bought for a couple of cents. And so we wanted the party to be way more lived and so interacted with Lightning to showcase that, yes, it is internal money, but you can actually have like some cool stuff, which is not just buying a beer. It's also playing with the Lightning environment. And by Lightning, I mean literally like bolts of light, right? So for example, changing the theme of the room through a QR code, having a hunting game of prizes. So you have to go around the venue, scan LNBits QR code, and once you get the 10 code, basically you get a seed because each Lightning invoice basically reveals a word. The 12 words make a seed. You enter the seed somewhere, and it open, like physically, it unlock a lock that open a box, and you have what is inside the box. So all of those basically games, we're trying to develop them, and then we are writing tutorials to go on the platform for like you to try it at home with your kids, or with activities, or within your local communities, or at your local meetup. And so, for example, the smoke machine that we can see, the idea is simple. You have a Lightning wallet user, you scan a QR code, and then in the background, what happens is that LNBits is going to activate LNBits switch plugin that is connected to the ESP32. That's going to be like turn on and off, and remotely we're connected to the smoking machine that have been hacked to like be connected, like that function with the switch, and that's going to release the smoke. And LNBits switch is really powerful to do that. And so the idea is to modify as much day-to-day tools to be Lightning enabled. So for example, the goal would be like you have those pool table in a bar. Well, let's not put coins, right? Let's just have a QR code, you scan the QR code, and the balls roll down and you can play. And that's it. That's just literally just a switch. The same way you can think of electricity in how do you say the machine, billboard machine, right? So the billboard machine plays until there is no more sats being streamed through the electricity. So basically the electricity bill is paid by the sats, and once the Lightning and this Lightning wallet is empty, the switch turns off, and so there is no more electricity for whatever you are trying to play with. And so this is the idea of PlanBit Studio, to create those fun workshop and interaction. And so if you go back one slide before, the idea at the party was to ensure that every participant could get drinks and play with the tools. So we had that flow of people basically going to the onboarding team, either with cash or credit card, and then we will basically buy them Bitcoin for them and drop the Bitcoin in their Lightning wallet. And for that, we were using basically either a K1 ATM or so a Bitfinex, or it was not Bitfinex, it was Blix, but we could have used Bitfinex to like sell Bitcoin. So we will basically sell Bitcoin to the newbies, get them Lightning directly into their wallet, so then they can go to the party. And because sometimes that was too complicated, or because their wallet, their phone was too shit, they had no batteries, no memories, which is the reality of like when you have to onboard 700% in 30 minutes, like you need to go faster. What we were doing was selling prepaid NFC cards with Lightning in it. So we were using Bolt cards basically, and this way basically they were giving us $10 in cash. We were giving them a credit card, a Lightning credit card of $10, and then they were like buying their entry because we were using like a POS, so they were scanning in like without inserting the card, and then they could like spend the sats during the venue. So the user experience was really cool because basically at that point they felt like they were getting a credit card, like a Bitcoin credit card. Well, it was just Lightning, and it worked really well because everywhere within the venue they could just like scan quick NFC tabs, and it will like activate the Lightning switch, which will like display something somewhere. And this is cool. So this is what we are trying to do basically.
That's great. And I think it's also great because people are already kind of used to, this cashless events where you get, you pay at the onboarding. For example,
you reload your bracelets for festivals, stuff like that. And so this is kind of the long-term goal, is really to have like a solution. Again, I don't think LNBits will be the solution, but have a solution for those big giant music festival, for example, because they always go cashless. It's a pain in the ass to use their financial system. And from experience, I know that it costs like around 80K to 100K of dollars to set up that for the festival. It's one of the biggest costs of a music festival is to go cashless because of the fee of Visa or MasterCard, because of the fee of the bank that's going to offer the service, because of the compliance that they need to do. And also at the end of the music festival, the people don't receive cash back. Like they have to do another round of compliance things to get the money back into their credit card account. And also they need to KYC to get the money in the first place. So the friction is crazy for the user. It's really expensive for the venue organizer. And at the end, what they do use during the venue is fake Bitcoins. It's fake dollars because it's basically a UTXO system. Like it's one giant balance for the whole festival, right?
Yeah.
And so we could easily replace that with Bitcoin and Lightning, but no one is building it. And sadly, we are on too many projects. So we are starting slow-mo with like Lightning, with Bitcoin conference venue. But the idea is to like ramp up the activities and the service and the fun things. So at some point we can go see a real festival and be like, okay, we're gonna just lightning you up to the end. And if we need the user to see like the euro balance instead of the SAT balance, we can do that. At the end, they will use Lightning without knowing they will use Lightning. Everyone will pay their beer thinking it's euro, but it will be Lightning flowing during all the festival. And at the end, we just make the converting rate back to send money. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really great. And what was the? Did you got some feedback from participants to, for example?
Yep. So the people were really happy. We also have a report. I don't know if it's got released yet, but it should come out pretty much in the coming days or maybe weeks, which shows a bit our stats, right? How many Lightning payments were made? How many wallets were created during the event? How many activation were created? And so it gives like a feel of numbers. But from the participants, the people that didn't know about Bitcoin thought it was really easy because they basically gave us 10K, $10 in cash, and they got like a card that was like working during the whole venue. So that was convenient. And the big people that already had Bitcoin were really happy to go around and scan QR code. So it's more like games for them. And because it's a really tiny amount, they don't really feel that it's expensive, even though at the end they probably spent like $3, $5 to just do Lightning Lightning activation thing.
Yeah. Yes, Marius, we were talking about the after party from adopting Bitcoin. Yeah, no, it's awesome. Yeah, the only thing is, maybe I don't know. I'm trying to, imagine what normies would have to say about that. But I think it's completely reinventing a lot of stuff in conferences and festivals like this, that you can interact, for example, with what's shown on stage with your phone is something that I don't think any classical event does currently.
Yeah, I think it works well in El Salvador because they don't have credit card and also like they don't all have Apple Pay. So the friction is still here. So adding another services and Bitcoin works. Yeah, I think if you do that in Europe, people are going to be like, why are we just not using a credit card? It is kind of pointless. We can all agree.
Actually, in festivals in Europe, you can't use that as well. You need to often and more, even on cashless events, you still need to convert money from your credit card, monopoly money from the event.
Yeah. One thing we realized that was not working is basically the fee. It's kind of stupid, but we were giving them $10 in sats, and the entry was, for example, 10. So they couldn't make the payment because the fee was 1 sat.
Yeah.
So Very quickly we realized that the entry would drop to 9.95, and so basically on the POS we were putting 9.95. So we will take the fee.
For you. Okay.
Yeah, because they had exactly 10K on the on the card, or they would buy exactly 10K, so they will receive after the Lightning transaction whatever it is in sats. So I guess 10,000 sats, so 9,995 sats. So that was one of the frustration, is that because it was still using the real Lightning network, we had fee. Well, I think if we had used Liquid or Arc or Cashew or whatever else to like basically create a fake global Lightning environment, we could have dropped the fee to 0.
Yeah, but I mean, you could do it with LNBits too. For example, if you just create an account for them and you credit the account in the LNBits instance with the amount that they give you in cash, for example. When they try to pay from their account in the LNBits instance to the underlying node, it would go straight to this node and not through Lightning.
Yeah, but yeah, at that point, the problem we had that a lot of people were Bitcoiner with their wallet.
Yeah.
So basically,
Gotcha.
And also, it's not only Bitcoiners with wallet of Satoshi, it's a Bitcoin conference. So every single person wanted to pay with different wallets.
Yeah.
So it was also the experience of, okay, during one venue, we had like, I think it was 3,000 transactions or more. And like, you can make this, like we could not, but like we could imagine like basically, okay, so it was probably more than 20% with wallet of Satoshi, maybe even 50%. And then it was like some people using Bitcoin, some people using their own thing, some people having their own graph within their wallet because they wanted, some people using Phoenix. So it was also like the frustration of like, okay, who can do NFC contact? Who can do that? Who can do that? So this was also like a big frustration that we can learn from and needs to be learned from. And the internet connection is also a big problem because sometimes it just crashes and you don't have internet anymore. So it's fucking annoying. We also had the problem that our POS ran out of battery. So how do you do with that? Learning experience.
Yeah. Okay. But that's where as well it's what you just said also highlights one of the use cases of having people do the onboarding, even if they already have a Lightning wallet, is they can just send sats to an LNBits account, the LNBits by the event, and then they can use this money to pay more quickly in the venue and without fees because it goes from LNBits to the same LNBits. And once the event is over, they can just withdraw the funds that are left in their LNBits account back to their wallet. So it's like it's custodial, but only during the event.
Yeah, and that could work well because basically what people like is to put an amount they're willing to spend. And so once they run out of the liquidity that they have set up to spend during that event, either they have to top up the card or they are like, okay, well, I'm not going to drink anymore because this is what I was willing to spend.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, it can be useful as well to have a hard limit that you can go over.
But so yeah, I think there will be a report dropping up. We will put it on the Telegram group, and then if you want to test LNBits and do some of those modifications with whatever you have at home, I think it could be a good exercise.
Yeah, definitely. And so, if I understand correctly, the idea is also to have some tutorial released by the studio when they are ready. And maybe we can then look into this with students, maybe. So I don't know what are the studio needs exactly currently.
Yeah, we will figure it out and update you on the Telegram, I guess.
Yeah, but I guess we could, at least start to play a bit with LNBits, and we are also waiting, I guess, on the official V1 release. Yeah.
And yeah, and probably we can do a Plan B network instance, or like, would that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's another thing I wanted to mention. But it can, so there are different aspects of an LNBits instance, or at least there are different things that students can play with around LNBits. One of them is, for example, developing your own extension, or plugging in different extensions together to make fun things. So, for example, like the smoke machine. Another thing is catering to LNBits instance, managing it. So we had to figure out how to do it safely. But yeah, we definitely could have a Plan B LNBits instance to play with. Yeah, that would be great. Cool. Do you have anything to add on this?
No, I think I'm good. We're getting close to the end too, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Maybe I can quickly showcase Polar, because I think that would be the next thing that we can use for exercises for the students. So basically, this QR would lead you to this website. So what Polar is it's a software that lets you quickly set up a local Bitcoin network and a local Lightning network on your device, so for example, on your computer. So it's a fake Lightning network. It's what we call a rec test. So it's a fake SATs. But it lets you do it with a graphical user interface. So it uses Docker as well. So if you want to use it, you have to download both Lightning Polar, so from lightningpolar.com, and a Docker environment as well. So you can use either things like Docker desktop. So I think it's in the FAQ at the end here. Yeah, you can use either Docker desktop, or you can also use things like OpStack. So let me quickly search. Yeah, OpStack is great as well, and it works really. It's basically the same. So you can use either Docker environments, Polar, and what it lets you do is, let me grab Polar here. Yeah. So basically, that's a demo I had already set up, but basically it lets you create your local Lightning network. So here I have 4 nodes, which are all connected to the same Bitcoin node in order to receive new blocks and stuff like that. I can simply create just another network. So let's say test network. I can say how many nodes I want on my network. I can have, for example, 2 LND nodes, 1 core Lightning, 1 Eclair nodes. I can hit create network. And so this will create this new network where all my nodes are connected to the same backend, but I can quickly add another backend. For example, if I want this node here to not be connected to this backend, but to this backend there, I can change the backend this way. So that can help me test, for example, if the 2 nodes become out of sync, if the 2 Bitcoin nodes become out of sync, what will happen with this LND node. This kind of things. We can start the network. Once we have started the network, so it will just have to do a few things. So it might take a bit more time than usual. Yeah. And so what you can see as well is that you can select the version of the node that you want to use. So you're not forced to use the latest version, for example. And it is great, for example, for testing. If you read about a vulnerability that was disclosed for a specific version of LNB, for example, you can then use this tool to try to replicate the vulnerability yourself to see if how it works exactly. And so that's what I want to propose actually to you guys, is to try to do this kind of stuff. And so just to conclude with this introduction, you can see that, for example, you can open channels between nodes. For example, between Alice and Bob, I can open a channel with, I don't know, 20 million sats. Here I hit open channel. So it will open the channel between the two nodes. Okay, no. 20 million is too big. Yeah, because we need to, it would be a jumbo channel. Yep, let's go. And so now if I hit quick mine, I don't know where the channel is actually. Should I refresh? Okay, so I have a little demo effect. Let's go back to the network. Let's start it again. So it should have worked. So here I have a network, for example, and the goal of this network was to demonstrate the excessive failback vulnerability that we covered in the last session 2 weeks ago, which was a vulnerability affecting LND version 0.18.4 and earlier. So that's why I picked this. No, sorry. Yes, it was version 0.17.5 and earlier. So that's why I picked this specific version for the node that I called Alice on my network here. And so what we could try to do in 2 weeks is I'm going to share some more details, but basically using Polar, we can try to replicate the vulnerability that was detailed by Matt Morehouse in his vulnerability report. So this excessive failback vulnerability, and try to see if we can trigger it on this test network. So I'll show you how to do that, but quickly, and then I'll give more detailed instructions on written documents. But basically, for each node, so for example, here I have selected the B1 node, which will be one of our attacker nodes in our example. You can just hit connect, and it gives you the connection details for this node. So this way you can run custom code on top of this node that lets you modify the way it behaves. And this way you can create your attacker node and behave as to actually perform the attack on your node, which will be Alice in our example. And so, for example, here I have a little bit of code. So I'm using a node package which is called Lightning, which is maintained by Alex Bosworth from Lightning Labs, which lets me connect to the LND node. So, for example, here I provided the certificate, the macaroon, and basically the port and the host, which I found here. So basically, I just copy pasted stuff from here into my file here, and then I created a subscriber using the Lightning package, which will listen on forward requests and either accept or deny them or reject them depending on the amount. So it just to show you, it's not directly related to our the excessive feedback. It's just to show you how we can do that. So I'm just going to run this little script, and I will share it with you so you can have an example. So if I run this by running pnpm start, it starts listening for forward request. And so once again, the node that we connected our little script to is the B1 node. So if we want to try this, we will need to we'll need, for example, to simulate a payment between Erin and B0. So let me select Erin. So I right click, create invoice. And so let's say that Erin wants to receive, let's say 2000 sats from, so she creates an invoice. So 2000 sats is, so here the unit is in millisats. So 1 million millisats in 1000 sats. And so what we have written in the code here is that the interceptor should reject the payment if it's above 1000 sats. So here I create the invoice, copy and close. And then I go to B0, so this other node. I click, right click, pay invoice. I paste the invoice. I click pay invoice. And here it says unable to pay the invoice. And we can see here that our little program saw that it was asked to forward 2 million millisats, so 2000 sats. And that as the amount was above 1000 sats, it rejected this forward. So basically what happened is that the payment went from B0 to Alice to B1, and B1 was asked to forward the payment to Erin, but refused because of the small script that we have written. And now if Erin, instead of 2000 sats, want to receive, for example, 900 sats, which is below 1000, so we create the invoice, copy and close, we go to B0, we hit pay invoice. This time it should work because the interceptor will accept to forward this invoice. And boom, successfully paid the invoice. So that's just to showcase what you can do with Polar. You can just really quickly set up your own little test Lightning Network and different tools using different software libraries. You can start to interact with the Lightning nodes. And so I think one good exercise would be to try to replicate the excessive failback vulnerabilities that we covered 2 weeks ago. Of course, I will provide more details in a written format in the Telegram for the people that want to try it. And in 2 weeks, we'll see if anyone. So of course, we'll keep chatting about this. So feel free to ask if something is not clear. Feel free to ask for and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's really a good exercise. For example, I know that at LN Markets we are using, for example, the Lightning package to interact with our Lightning. So it's really something that can teach you valuable skills if you would like to work in a Lightning company. So yeah, basically that's a quick presentation of the tool. I'll just show you once again the QR code if you want to take a look at the website and start the tool. Yeah, so that's it. I don't know if there are any questions about that right now.
Do you have questions? Okay, so it's a cool tool. Thanks for the demo. I also felt you felt really inspired by doing it. You were really happy when it worked.
Yeah, so I hope you, so feel free to play with it. And yeah, I'll give some more detailed instructions for installation and how to start it. And hopefully some of you might have some time to try to perform the excessive failback vulnerability. Of course, you can also try to do something else if you want. Maybe this one doesn't inspire you and you try something else. So feel free to tell me on the Telegram chat and it's cool to try something else, especially if it's the first time that you're using this kind of tool. Great.
All right, super cool.
Yep.
And so.
Awesome. Bless you.
Thank you. Do we have anything else for this weeks? I think not.
I think it's all good. Let me check now. Yeah, basically questions, feedback. Maybe I can share again quickly.
The QR code for the Telegram.
Exactly. Here we go. Yeah, so feel free to join us. You you have anything to add, Rogzy?
No, thank you,
the lab
Fanis.
itself?
Thank you, Fanis, for this new lecture. Super interesting, to be honest. I know we don't have a lot of viewers live right now, but I think the topic are new indeed, like cool, new, and I think it's a good added value in general for the network. So quite happy with that. And yeah, let's hope the students do some homework from the Telegram. And if we continue to see that it's not working as we want when it comes to interaction with the students, we will force them to come to the Zoom call and maybe just record it and get it under different formats. We will not move to that yet, but yeah, I think it's.
I think we could as well just try our Zoom meeting next time and see how it goes. And yeah, maybe I'll try to see if I can find something that's more hybrid between a live stream and having everyone on the same room. But yeah. Cool.
All right. Thank you, Fanis. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and everyone on replay.
Thanks, Rogzy. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.